We have this Asus laptop that was mailed in to us. This is the Republic of Gamers, and customer said the computer is not powering on. We plugged the charger and no signs of life, nothing at all. So Big Boss is gonna disassemble the board, and I'm sure there's a lot of screws on there, a lot of things to take off. Before we proceed with the repair, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor PCBWay. PCBWay is a China Shenzhen-based PCB manufacturer and printed circuit board assembler. With more than a decade in the field of PCB prototype and fabrication, PCBWay is committed to meeting your PCB needs. They offer quality, on-time delivery, and competitive pricing. 1 to 2 layer boards starts at $5 with 24 hours turnaround. Get an instant quote by visiting PCBWay.com or click on the link below, and make sure to check them out. I mean, we did not even start taking the motherboard out, and look at the screws. Probably 30, 40 screws already. And there's still a lot of things, a lot of stuff to take out. And Big Boss does it in a way where he knows where every screw will go back. Some of them are big size, some of them are small size, medium size. It's crazy. The model number on this laptop is the GM501G. Okay. Big Boss already disassembled the logic board, and we have it right over here. Now the motherboard looks mint, no physical damage, no liquid damage, nothing like that. So we're gonna inspect and see what's going on and why the board is not powering on. Now the first thing I want to do is inspect the adapter, the charger that came with the laptop. I want to make sure it's supplying 19 volts. And put the meter in voltage mode. I just want to make sure the charger is good. And we have 19 volts, so the charger is good. The next thing I want to do is plug the charger in, and we will measure from the charging port area to see if 19 volts is reaching the motherboard. Now, as soon as I plug this in, I heard a spark. I can't hear it now, but I did hear it. Okay, so the charger is plugged in. We're gonna measure here. So black probe on ground and red probe right over here. And we should be getting 19 volts. And the meter is showing 0.35 volts. 0.35. 0.35. What is causing the drop in voltage? Is it the charging port? It's not. When we see any voltage on the charging port area, right now if you look at the meter, it's displaying 0.32 and not 19. I mean, I'm testing at the charging port area, so we should be getting 19 volts and not 0.3 volts unless there's something on the logic board that is shorting out and taking all that voltage to ground. 0.3. That's not good. Let me measure that charging adapter again. And the adapter is no longer showing us 19 volts, 0.3 volts. The adapter was showing us 19 volts before, but as soon as we plugged it in, it has some type of protection built in, and now it's not supplying any more voltage. Now to get it to supply voltage, we will have to unplug and replug that adapter. Let me do that. So I'm gonna unplug it, plug it back in, and we should see 19 volts again. And yes, look at that, 19.8 volts. I do not know if you can see it. Let me turn the lights on. 19.8. I'm gonna plug that cable in the motherboard, and I heard that spark. Let's unplug and test that cable. And now we are no longer getting 19 volts. We are getting 6 volts. It says battery. We are low on battery. Big Boss is going to change the battery on the multimeter. We are at a battery. The charging port physically looks good, so there's no reason to believe that the charging port is bad. Let's take a look inside here. And look at that. I mean, it looks solid. It looks nice. No physical damage. It's not moving inside, so we know that it's not broken. And the whole port overall looks in mint condition. So there's no reason to think that this is caused by a charging port. It's something on the board, especially that when we plug the charging cable in, I hear that spark and the charger turns itself off. It doesn't supply 19 volts anymore. So there's something on the board that is causing some type of short. We do not have any circuit diagrams for that board. What we're gonna do is use the thermal cam to see if we can detect any heat on the board. We're gonna feed 19 volts. We're gonna force 19 volts into that port because right now we cannot rely on the charger. The charger is gonna turn itself off and it's not gonna supply any voltage, so nothing is gonna get hot. The thermal cam should be able to pinpoint where that heat is coming from. And we'll see. So meter in diode mode. Let's randomly test those caps before we go to the thermal cam. So red probe on ground and we have black probe here. And we do not have a short. We do not have a short. We do not have a short. Nothing. What about this one here? And we do not have a short. With the thermal camera, we should be able to quickly pinpoint where that short is coming from. But the first thing we want to do is force voltage into that port. I have the power supply set at 19 volts. And we're going to hook up ground to this screw area here. Let's do it like this. And now the positive probe, I'm going to touch it with the positive side of that charging port. And we're going to monitor the board under a thermal cam to see if anything gets hot. So let's do that right now. I'm going to go to the thermal cam and let's see. This is the charging port right here. These are the two MOSFETs, capacitors here. I'm interested in this area to see if anything gets hot. We're going to be looking at this area of the board first under a thermal cam. If nothing gets hot, then we'll look at other areas of the board. And I'm going to apply 19 volts onto those pins. And I see a big spark. Look at that. Which part is getting hot? This one here. Let me take my finger out. It's this MOSFET here. We found the problem. Let me point to it right over here. So this is the MOSFET that is getting hot, and this is most likely what is causing the problem. Let's take a look at it under the microscope. It's this one here. So you see we have two MOSFETs here. This is the one that's getting extremely hot when we apply 19 volts. We're gonna go ahead and remove this MOSFET and see if we still have a short. We have a very good video on MOSFETs, on how MOSFETs work. You can watch that video to learn more. And we're gonna have to set the temperature to maybe 450. It's a big board and it's gonna absorb all that heat. It may take a while before we are able to desolder this MOSFET. So we have to remember that pin number 1 is on the bottom right, or we can just look at the pins from under the MOSFET to know the orientation of that chip. Okay. In just a minute, we have a customer. What I want to do now is I'm going to plug the charger that came with the laptop, and we're going to see if that charger will shut itself down, or let me test the charger that came with the laptop now. I want to make sure it's supplying 19 volts. Nope. We have to unplug and replug the charger. It's still in the protection mode. And yes, we have 19 volts. So let's plug that charger onto the board. And guess what? We do not have a spark when I plugged it in. So let's test this side of the Mosfet to see if we are getting 19 volts. Voltage mode, a black probe on ground, and let's test right here. And we have 19 volts. The problem is solved. We have 19 volts here. So the good news is, after removing this MOSFET, we are getting 19 volts now. 19 volts is going in from the charger, and the charger is not shutting itself down. And right now, all I have to do is order that chip, solder it back on, and we should have a working laptop. I do not have that chip in stock, but I will order it today. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment if you have any questions, and we'll do something else in the next video.